Okay, this is my point of view, and if I offend you, I'm sorry in advance. Kind of. Okay, let me rephrase. I am sorry that you were offended. I'm not sorry for my point of view. My point of view is that, uh, kind of adjacent to the article. It's not that I hate social media. I'm just not a big fan of it. I can go without. As I said before, I've never used a dating app a day in my life, so I really couldn't tell you too much. I mean, but with common sense and just the basic knowledge of the title and paired with commercials, I mean, I get the purpose and what it's used for. However, I have a grievance. Social media is for socializing. The point is, apps are so dangerous because they replace real life, real time interactions. Think what we used to do before we had social media. I mean, granted, I'm not saying social media is just the devil and it's the worst. It's how it is used. However, I don't think that it is conducive to society. At this point, it's not going to change. It's not going to. In my opinion, it's only going to get worse. And I think it attributes to a lot of social anxiety that people have. You know, people don't interact anymore. People are buried into their phones. I think about how everything is about the next best post. It's beautiful to want to, like, you know, capture moments and take pictures of yourselves. Like, I don't think that our lives should be centered around taking a picture for a like. You should take the picture because you want to take the picture because you like the picture. And if you get likes, cool, whatever, who cares, right? But that's not how the world works. And so socialization has just been literally shifted into this, I don't have the word for it, but we see what it has been shifted into. And so now when we take something like the construct of dating and we put that into dating apps, how we approach people in general is like options, because social media is throwing so much at us at one time, including when we have shops like the TikTok shop or we have Instagram shop or whatever else. And I don't know, even I think Snapchat even had it at one point. I don't know, considering the fact that everything is thrown at us, so much information is given us all at once. Our brains aren't made to do that. Our brains are not made to process that type of information so fast, constantly every day, where, you know, that it's overwhelming, and that's why we get like fatigue. So imagine the same thing with dating though. And so now we have this idea of false options, and I say we, society, if it applies, it applies. If it doesn't, whatever. As I stated before, this guy, he told me, he says, I just text a whole bunch of women the same thing, and whatever falls through. Lack of intention. The lack of intention there is beyond belief. Well, actually, I believe it. And I mean, we don't want to take our times. We don't want to actually be intentional in getting to know someone. You're programming your brain to think of people as disposable. You just discard. Yep, next. I don't even know which way the swipes are. But beyond that, then we have the pop the balloon. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend that attraction isn't important. That is the first thing that's appealing. What are you attracted to? You have to know what you like. However, all these false standards, they're not standards at all. At least they're superficial, but they're not even really standards. It's more like expectations, and they're superficial. Oh, you must have 30 pairs of blah, 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 blah. And if you don't have 30 pairs of jeans, then I can't date a man who don't got... Like, the jeans ain't gonna raise no kids. You know what I mean? What about values and morals and maybe, you know, character? Maybe. But I digress. The point I'm making. Dating apps, I personally feel like, okay, maybe they were designed with good intentions. Maybe. But how they're used is not... Okay, let me be able to put it play like this. It is highly unlikely that you're gonna find real, true love through the dating app, because we have to think about the type of people, the demographic that's on there. Some people on there probably do meet people that they love and like, and there's people who probably are truly genuinely looking for real love, but you gotta understand that there's a lot of people who prey on people like that to use them, either using them for money or the goods. And I say this to say, because if people are like that on a regular social media app, what makes you think that they wouldn't do that times 10 on a quote-unquote dating app? So we have to be more intentional. We have to think about what is it that we want, and honestly, be honest with yourself. Don't be desperate for love or desperate for attention. First of all, love belongs to you. Love already belongs to you. You're already beyond deserving of love. You don't have to go out of your way to go seek it. Just allow it to show up in your life. Yeah, allow it to just play out. In the meantime, before you meet the one, before you meet a partner or anything like that, dating, you have to assess what it is that you want. Do you know what you want? See, we have this tendency to be like, oh, this person needs to be this. But how you gonna say this person needs to be X, Y, and Z, and you aren't that yourself? That's backwards. So, take the time to really evaluate your values, your morals. What is important to you? What do you want? I think dating should be more intentional. You shouldn't waste time just in the sake of like filling a void, filling a space. Go fill those spaces with hobbies and some self-reflection. I don't mean that in an ugly way. I mean that for the betterment of yourself. Fill it with God. Well, let me put it like this. First and foremost, you can never fill a God-sized gap with things, people, habits, hobbies. Well, none of that will ever be able to fill the hole that is reserved for God. And nothing will fulfill you. But at the same time, I'm not saying to go out. That's not what I'm saying. I think you should go out. Go explore the city. But in the sake of like, oh, I don't want to be alone tonight. Don't do anything silly. Hey, look, I'm not judging you. Do what you want to do. I'm just saying, think smart. Don't just fill your time and your space with people who don't care about you, that you don't have anything in common with. That ultimately is a waste of time. And I was talking about dating apps, and I was talking about how dating and social media is just garbage. And dating's not garbage, it's just how society has kind of reformed it to be. You should date with intention. That's my opinion. I think because time is being invested. Why? Imagine investing and pouring into something and someone, and it's no good for you. And now that's where you have those ties. Ultimately, what we invest our time into and what we pour ourselves into, we're going to be attached to. That's just how that goes. And that's without the physical intimacy or anything like that. And even being smart with that. And that's why God tells us to, hold your horses, because now you're creating a certain tie that isn't necessarily just so easy to break. Because if it was, people wouldn't return to their exes. People wouldn't be stuck. And heartbreak is one thing that is not necessarily just like this thing you brush off. Heartbreak can linger. It is traumatic. And not to say that, it has to be a super extreme, but it could be a slight little trigger, and that'll change you. That's another reason why I say just kind of go talk to the Lord too, because everything that we need really is in His Word. And more than anything, allow God to lead, guide, and direct you to who you need to be around. Because there's so many people in the world, and I think that it's important to know that God is intentional in who He places in our lives, and to trust that with all of our hearts. And in Proverbs 3:5-6, it tells us to lean not on our own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge the Lord, and He shall direct thy path. And really taking that, we know it here, but we need to have it here where we understand that, have it engraved in us. It needs to be in our blood. We need to eat, sleep, and breathe that verse and understand that because of God's intentionality, that what He plans and what He does is beyond our understanding at times, with who we meet, what we do, everything. He knew us before we were formed in our mama's womb. So I say all of that to say, get off the maps. Really don't. I don't think it's a bad thing to want to meet new people. And I think that's innovative, because we live in a digital age, But if we're being real, anything that you can do on a dating app, you can do on a regular app. So what really is the purpose. I mean, you can look up a city, you can look at the geotag. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying, like, when you really think about it. And I've mentioned this before, with Instagram's vanish mode, like, that's designed for cheaters, but that's another story. There's so many ways to socialize if you just have to do it digitally, whatever. That's what all those geotags are for. And then there's so many other apps, but I say get out, go actually socialize, go organically meet people. And not to say that you can't meet people, because I'm not speaking specifically about dating per se, but it's not that you can't meet people through socials. I've met some really cool people through Instagram, but through Instagram because I knew somebody in person, if that makes sense. Not the point. The point is, take a chance to really step outside, get off the phone, get off the maps. That's just my opinion. But, you know, that's why it's my opinion. You don't gotta agree. You don't got to agree. You really could tell me to shut up. I ain't gonna hear it, but you could tell me to shut up. The point is, go outside. Really, ultimately, that's how I feel. Go outside. Go talk to actual people. Like, go to the gym. Go to a coffee shop. Go to a bookstore. Go to Walmart. I promise you. I just think that we have to realize that a lot of this stuff is not for us like they say it's for us. It's a purpose behind it, and it's usually green. Okay? And so your life matters. That's why you have to take control of it. That's why you have to be in charge of it. You have to, first you need to take accountability, but you got to be aware in order to take accountability. And so ask yourself the questions, like, what is it that I really want? What am I looking for? And things like that. This was very vague. Maybe one day, okay, this is crazy. I sometimes think, I'm like, maybe maybe this would be revolutionary when I pass or something. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't say that, but that's just a thought. Yeah. Okay, bye.